How's it going, team? This is the Brown Man. Next up, we are actually going to go with Support, which is actually my favorite class of Survivor. This is the second part of the Evil Dead Survivor series. This is typically geared towards newer players, but anybody, of course, can possibly learn something different. So, we're going to go into this, and this is actually going to be a bit longer than the leader video, because there's quite a bit when it comes to support. So all support characters do 80% of the weapon's value at base. They have an inert debuff to melee and range, so they do 80% of the weapon's value. They also have within 8 meters, if they were to drink a Shemps or if they were to use an amulet, then they share it with those around them. So when you are trying to heal someone, you have to pretty much hug them. 8 meters is actually not very far. It is best to run up on the healer and let the healer heal you. This isn't a pre-patched Cheryl that was really broken. It can heal from across the map. No, everyone has 8 meters, which once again is not very far. Someone that is lower on the end, just because of what he can do compared to any other support, is Pablo. Pablo is my boy. I love Pablo. I haven't played this dude in a minute. Partially because what he does, other characters simply just do a lot better. And he's really risky to play. So, let's get into my boy Pablo. So, a gift from El Brujo Especial is his active ability. He creates an amulet, he drops it on the ground, he can pick it up, or someone else can. It's quite good when you have several warriors. They can actually keep their shields recharged. The cooldown is quite a bit high though, at 120 seconds. Infernal Camouflage. Demons are no longer able to detect you using demon vision. So when you shoot a gun, get into a car, get feared up, you don't pop up on the map for them. And when you when you use an amulet, nearby survivors who get the benefits of the amulet also go undetected by demon vision for 8 seconds. Legacy of El Brujo, you carry an additional amulet. Maximum carry is increased, and you give people a little bit more shield than the other supports. Shamanic Protection is the last skill. Your shield bar will gradually recover over time until you have at least 1 full bar. It takes a little bit to actually refill that bar, but it adds a little bit of protection for Pablo. Typically, his ability is good for going off on his own, but very often you might not actually want to go off on your own, especially against aggressive demons that know what to look out for. Demons can still see you. They can see the car moving. They can't see Pablo in the car, but they can see the car moving, and it's like, oh shit, it's not a ghost, it's a Pablo. So they're gonna go to you. They're gonna go to you. So best to be careful. Next up is Blacksmith. Blacksmith is an interesting character. He cannot use a gun, so his pink F alignment is different by default. So his gun pink F is actually going to be metal scraps, and as you level up metal scraps, he actually gets to carry more. And because of that, his skill tree is actually different, because all the gun stuff is replaced with melee stuff, because he can't use guns. Avenging Anvil is his active. So Avenging Anvil allows you to create a weapon. It's a random weapon. It could be a gun. So even if you can't use a gun, you have to ping it for somebody else to pick it up, because you can't pick up guns at all. Each strike is a rarity. So it's going to go 1 strike is common, 2 strikes is rare, 3 strike is epic, That fourth strike will be a legendary, but you need to create extra scraps, and there will be a color gradient in the middle of the screen. As you collect scraps, that gradient will actually change, and based off of the colors in that gradient, that's your possibility of getting a weapon of that rarity. So if you want max chance of a legendary, you need max scraps. If you want 50-50, you go less, and it scales according to that. Weapon Master Melee, you attack and do extra balance bar damage and do extra health damage. The Blacksmith, of course, is unable to use ranged weapons thanks to Weapon Master Melee. Tough as Nails, you gain 400 EXP just right off the bat. Increases the maximum health, so you get quite tanky. And you have Rough and Ready, so you activate your little amulet, and when you share the amulet, those within amulet sharing range will actually do more melee damage as well, and there's a chance that the amulet doesn't break. So, not bad, but he does not have access to a gun. Not having access to a gun means that he doesn't have any peel. He can't take a demon off of someone who's picking on a teammate from afar. He can't do balance bar damage from afar. He has to trade health. So that 400 extra health sounds nice, but he can't use a gun. So he has to go in and trade health. He has to trade blows. So not being able to use a gun sucks, especially when a hunter is after you, or if a melee, or if a warrior that wants to actually carry a fucking legendary knife. I don't like warriors having legendary knives, but if a warrior has a legendary knife and you're by yourself, you can't stun lock them from afar. They're gonna come up to you and just beat the shit out of you and stun lock you and kill you. So not having a gun is quite a bit of a downside. In the middle, we have Cheryl. Some people say Cheryl is the best. I say Cheryl is absolutely okay. She's okay. Healing Touch, she puts down the healing field. Those within the area gets 60 heal per second for 6 seconds. That's 360 heal. You carry 2 more Shemps. Once again, not bad. Contact Courage when you drink your Shemps. The teammates' fear reduction, they gain a 25 fear reduction, and Contact Healing, they gain 100 more health or 125 more health whenever you drink a cola. But of course, this is resource reliant, resource heavy. You have to use colas for all of her abilities. And because she is a support, just like any other support, without perks or whatever, she actually falls off in terms of damage. And at the end of the game, as you guys will play and realize, that oftentimes the demon will actually ignore you and go for the book. Cheryl does not have excellent damage. I hear people say Cheryl has excellent damage. She has support damage, which is below par. So she does well if you're stocking up on Shemps, and if people are giving you Shemps. Once again, this is the same for any other support. With any support character, you can give the support the Shemps and have them drink. You don't just have to do that for the Cheryl to make Cheryl have bigger numbers than need be. Every support can have Shemps pulled for them, and she relies so much on that as she is resource reliant, and she falls off at the end. So that is something to be mindful of. If the demon is completely ignoring survivors and going for the book, Cheryl falls off, but she is very easy to play, so she is a good starter character, good starter support. Next up, we have my boy David. So David got nerfed in the recent patch because this man was good, really good. And there are some people, and I'll call them doodle dips. There are some doodle dips who said David was D tier, and I say, let me tell you what. David's active is Beacon of Hope. So he puts down a light. The light will actually decrease the team's fear over time, make it more expensive to possess anything within that. And as you're attacking, thanks to boosted beacon, as you are attacking units, they will actually bleed infernal energy, which is pretty good. Then we have here Soda Pop. This is what makes them really good. Even though Weapon Master Nail Gun is not that good because you get a debuff and it's a nail gun. Soda Pop is what pushes him over the edge. It used to be a 30% damage reduction for 30 seconds. Now it's only a 20% damage reduction. So 30% before negated most heavy damage perks. And this damage reduction goes with any perks. So if you have Tougher Than Hell, the 10%, you add 20%. If someone is playing an Army of Darkness Ash and they drink their soda, their potion, they get a 30% damage reduction. They get an additional 20%. That makes them 50% damage reduction. So it gets really crazy how beefy he makes your team. So when you play as David, you actually want to drink your Shemps earlier. You want to drink your Shemps when people are around 60% health, 60 to 50. Because he makes the team have to use less Shemps. So he's the best character to actually top off with, because he doesn't carry 8 Shemps. Cheryl is the only one who carries 8 max. Every other support carries 6. But the ability to tank extra hits, not just for health, but for shield. He makes all incoming damage reduced. So that includes shield. So if you beef up people's shield, oof, it gets quite rough. Quite rough when facing against a David that knows when to use Soda Pop. And the last but not least, the hardest, probably the hardest character to use in this game is Evil Dead 1 Ash. The hardest to use support, but he scales. So he goes from, you can be really, really terrible or really, really good, depending on the player skill and sometimes team composition. So as I said at the end of the leader video, this guy is whatever he wants to be. Reassuring Presence is his active. He actually does this hand wavy shit. I'm going to show you guys in a minute. And when he does the hand wavy shit, those in that immediate area gets a 50% fear reduction. Of course, as you prestige, those extra numbers are prestige numbers. I'm close to getting him to prestige 5. I'm close. But it's a 50% reduction, and that's not bad. So that's for free. Right? It's not drinking a Shemps, that's free. Alternate healing without prestige is 20%. With prestige is 25%. And that actually becomes quite great. So mark target damage. Oh yeah, so alternate healing. So when you do heavy attacks, 20% or 25% if your prestige is returned to you and your teammates as health, but they have to be relatively close within melee range. So he's good for melee comp. Mark target damage is for range comps, range or mixed, or if a possessed unit is on you and you're by yourself. So when you headshot, they are marked for 5 seconds. Any ranged damage to the target, it doesn't have to be headshots. Any range to the target is buffed by 20%. That means they die 20% faster. And then 10% of the damage that you do is restored as health. So if you do a 1000 headshot, you healed for 100. And once again, hunters typically should be out of melee range. So that's free health for hunters and Annie, and oftentimes yourself. So mark target damage is one of the things that pushes him over the edge when it comes to protecting the book. The book phase is a very important phase, and that's the phase where Cheryl drops off significantly, because she just doesn't have the damage. I know people say that they can do damage on the scoreboard. I'm talking about actual damage per second, not in terms of kills, not in terms of whatever. I'm talking about actual direct damage. Evil Dead 1 Ash, not only does he get rid of or compensates for his natural debuff, because supports naturally have a debuff. So he kind of gets rid of that in a way. But he also buffs the team. So now the hunter and the leader is doing more damage, which means when you're on the book, that boss, that elite, is going to drop faster, which helps protect the book. You can have a really good game and lose in 2 minutes just because y'all couldn't protect the book. So damage on the book is very important, and they constantly increase the demon's health and decrease the survivor damage. So survivors are not doing the same amount of damage as when the game first dropped. Demons have more health, so you want to make sure that you are absolutely set. And of course, alternate healing is an interesting perk. So yeah, Evil Dead 1 Ash scales quite a bit according to the leader. The leader buffing him, and one of my new tricks here is Last Word. One of my new secrets for this character, because it buffs the final hit. So if you're doing the final hit of your heavy, ooh, that's a good spike in healing. So he scales quite a bit according to leader. So it can be really garbage or really nice depending on player skill, depending on can you hit headshots, depending on a lot of stuff. But it's up to the player to get him right. He is a difficult character to actually use effectively and used well. He is not a beginner-friendly character. I repeat, not a beginner-friendly character. But if you can learn how to use him, then you can excel as pretty much any character in the game. Alright, so let's just look at his active real quick. Get him! So this is the active. It's a nice little blue flame. It reduces fear. Makes things a lot more difficult to possess. Good shit. So let's look at that pink F. So each support has the same pink F except for the blacksmith. The blacksmith, instead of having range, is called metal scraps. And he gets 10 more metal scraps for each input. So we have 3 in melee, 3 in ranged, 5 in health. So this is the weakest pink upgrade for the 5th pink F. So as you guys see here, it goes from 200 max health, which is, you know, as we saw in leaders in the previous video, it only adds 50 more, only 50 more. So it's quite weird. 3 in fear, 3 in stamina, 3 in shield. So support is statistically they're weaker leaders. Statistically, they're weaker leaders. They just carry an extra amount of shemps. And as you guys see right here, if I actually use my shield, my buddy actually got something right here. Look at that. Look at that. My buddy actually got something. So that's pretty good. And of course, if I were to drink,
basically water and sugar.
Nobody needs healing, so nobody got healed. But that's how that works. I can actually share my stuff with them. But keep in mind that it doesn't scale super well with warriors or other dudes with higher health. It is sometimes better if they are low to actually heal themselves, because you're just not going to cut it. Just because they have a certain amount of health. And that be how you guys handle support. Supports are interesting. They're vital. I feel like it all depends on what your playstyle is, what your team comp is as well, and what you guys want to see, what results you guys want to see. It is best to be careful, because as support, the demon might solo you out. Just so you can't support your team, you can't heal your team. They might come at you just to beat the shit out of you and then handle your teammates. So it's best to be careful. One thing to keep in mind is to use pings. Use the ping. Look at that shield regen. So this is the shield regen for Pablo. Before I show you guys the ping. There we go. I had to show you guys. Had to show ya. Not too bad, right? Now it's definitely seems a bit noticeable. So, when it comes to my boy Pablo, well, check this out, check this out. Check this out.
Tastes like fuzzy.
There we go. So when it comes to my boy Pablo, or any other support, what the fuck are they doing? Okay. So, when it comes to support, or any other character, hey, make sure you use pinks. This is a very important part.
Anybody out there have some ammo for me?
Check this out.
This one looks good on me.
So you can ping crates when you're on top of it. You can ping Shemps, your support. So if you're running low on Shemps, on PlayStation you press L1, and then you have this wheel here, so you can wheel up.
Who's got a ships?
And if you have a gun in your hand, if you ask for ammo, once again, as any character, you ask for ammo,
I can do this with my bare hands, but ammo would help.
it tells you what kind of ammo I need because I have a gun that takes handgun ammo in my hand. So if you ask for ammo, it'll tell you based off of
Anybody out there have some
whatever is in your hand. And that's pretty useful. And as you guys see, you only regain shield up until your first shield as Pablo. You don't gain all the shield passively, you only gain up to the first one. And it's not bad. It's not bad for going off on your own. If you're going to go off on your own, make sure you are prepared. Make sure you are ready. And those are the basics of playing support. Y'all be safe, stay hydrated, and of course, have a good one.